It's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. Right here. KP's.
That's right. We're going to take a SWAT out of crime today. We're taking a SWAT out of crime. And never forget that man who eats stolen duck also must eat quack. We got a Georgia deputy fired after pointing gun at a handcuffed man's face. The Georgia deputy sheriff was fired after she pointed her gun at a handcuffed man's face to force him into a patrol car. And Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill said Nicole Colleen Pitts has been terminated for excessive force during an incident that occurred Tuesday. In a news release, Hill said Pitts held her service weapon to the man's head under his chin. Deputy Nicole Pitts took a suspect into custody who was handcuffed behind his back but refused to get in a patrol car to be transported to jail, Hill said in a statement. Deputy Pitts pulled out her issued sidearm and held it to the suspect's head under his chin to get him to comply. Another deputy who witnessed the incident reported it to a supervisor, who then alerted Hill. According to the release, Pitts was placed on administrative leave without pay on Tuesday evening. An internal investigation was launched. The internal affairs team worked into the middle of the night on the investigation. Hill said Pitts was terminated on Wednesday afternoon on Hill's orders. The sheriff's office did not disclose the name of the suspect Pitts had taken into custody on Tuesday night or the reason for the man's arrest. And Pitts is at least the third employee of the Clayton County Sheriff's Office to be terminated due to excessive force or misconduct in recent weeks. Former Deputy Brandon Myers was fired last month after cell phone video footage that showed him repeatedly punching Roderick Waller, a 26-year-old black man, during a traffic stop went viral on social media. And according to the Walker's attorney, said he was bitten, tased, and had a knee in his neck for so long that he lost consciousness twice during the encounter with officers in September. Clayton County Corrections Officer Gregory Hubert Brown was also fired last month for using a racial slur in reference to an inmate. Brown was placed on administrative leave without pay September 27th after referring to an inmate on suicide watch as a crazy N-word in front of other inmates and other correctional officers. Hill said in a release last month he was fired days later. Firings came amid heightened tension after a summer of protests against police brutality and racial injustice, fueled by police killings of black people, including the fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, Georgia. And switching over to the West Coast, prosecutors in California are reopening the investigation into the death of Oscar Grant, a black man killed by Bay Area rapid transit officers in one of the first incidents of its kind to be captured on cell phone video. The move comes nearly 10 years after the 22-year-old Grant was fatally shot while lying face down on a platform in the Fruitvale station in Oakland. BART officers John Marcheri and Anthony Peroni responded to the scene just after midnight on January 1st, 2009. The following year, Marcheri, who fired the fatal shot, was found guilty on an involuntary manslaughter charge, and Peroni was fired from the department. He told authorities he scuffled with Grant, but a report recently made public by Myers Nave law firm, which Bart hired to run its internal investigation, suggests the officer had a much larger role in the incident. A report was released Wednesday under the new California law for police transparency, and Peroni was in large part responsible for setting the events in motion that created a chaotic, tense situation on the platform, setting the stage, even if advertent, for shooting for the shooting of Oscar Grant, said Kimberly Caldwell and Jane Williams, the attorneys who wrote the report dated back in July 2009. So, Mercero, 29, was convicted in 2010 of killing Oscar Grant, and our authors specifically cited repeated unreasonable and unnecessary use of force, his manifest lack of veracity, and use of his racial slur while arguing with Grant and recommending the officer's firing. The report additionally alleged that there is video suggesting that Mercero may have known he was drawing his firearm, not his taser, as he claimed during the trial testimony. On Monday, Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley, in a statement, stated she was assigned to a team of lawyers to look back into the circumstances that caused the death of Oscar Grant. We will evaluate the evidence and the law, including the applicable law at the time and the statute of limitations, and make a determination. Grant's family, after years of calling for additional action in the slaying, lauded the move to reopen the case, but emphasized it was well overdue. And Wanda Johnson Morris, Grant's mother, said in the Monday news conference that Peroni was supposed to be charged after testifying in Mercedes' trial, but that never happened. Charged him for his actions that escalated instead of de-escalating the situation that escalated and caused the loss of my son's life. All men are created equal. We too should get the justice that we deserve. And I'm going to the south. Going to the south now. From the east to the west, now I'm going to the south. Richmond, Virginia. 2 Virginia police officers indicted on misdemeanor charges stemming from actions against during May protests against police brutality and racial injustice have been released on their own recognizance after making their first appearances in court. Richmond police officers Mark Janowski and Christopher Brown have been charged with assault and battery in connection with a single incident that happened about 5:30 on May 31st. And McEachin declined to discuss the specific allegations. That's the common word for attorney. Against the officers, and would not identify the detectives, accuser or accusers. Richmond Police Chief Gerald Smith also declined to comment while the case is pending. Janowski, 34, and Brown, 28, were indicted on the charges Monday by a grand jury that initially deliberated 18 indictments for actions involving 8 officers, Smith said. The jury only moved forward on the charges against Janowski and Brown, who have been placed on administrative assignment. The other 6 officers have returned to duty. One of the attorneys representing Janowski stated he faced unimaginable challenges during the protest, and said he knows many officers who were injured during the protest. They were faced with circumstances that were unprecedented. The city was literally on fire in many places, blah, blah, blah. Brown's attorney, Jason Atkins, declined to comment. Black Lives Matter protests in Richmond were sparked by the death of George Floyd. And in Richmond, protesters have raised various concerns over how police have responded to demonstrations. And in July, McEachin's office cleared Richmond police of wrongdoing after reviewing 5 civil complaints. The officers had investigated whether the officer deliberately drove a vehicle through a crowd of protesters in June, and whether the officer spit on a protester. And going to the north now, Des Moines, Iowa, registered reporter Andrea Sahori is among at least 109 journalists arrested during U.S. anti-racism protests this year. Sahari was pepper sprayed at a protest by police. Then she was charged with and has since pleaded not guilty to failure to disperse and interference with the official acts. Andrea Sahari, the reporter for the Des Moines Register, was covering a protest in May when the police deployed tear gas, prompting protesters to run in the street. When her boyfriend was stuck in the leg with the tear gas canister, Sahori stopped to check on him. I was seeing if his leg was okay. Police came over and went around the corner, and I was saying, I'm pressed, I'm pressed, I'm pressed. The Des Moines police officer responded, I didn't ask, before spraying her twice in the face with pepper spray. The police then bound Saboy's hands with zip ties. He said in the video, and in the county court, she was then charged with and has since pleaded not guilty to failure to disperse and interference with official acts. Des Moines police told the Register that Sahori did not clearly identify herself as a journalist. Another registered journalist who was with Sahori at the time of her arrest was not detained. U.S. Freedom Tracker has verified more than 800 assaults, arrests, and other attacks against the press during the anti-racism protests this year. As of September 21st, journalists have been arrested more than 109 times at demonstrations, according to the email statement and a committee to protect journalists. While most of the journalists were released and charges were dropped, some, including Sahori, continue to face prosecution. It's absurd that law enforcement officials around the country continue to pursue charges against journalists who were doing their job at the time they were arrested. It's high time for authorities to drop this pursuit, which is frivolous and wasteful. The Iowa Press Freedom Council has urged the county prosecutor to drop the charges against her. Earlier this month, more than 250 students and staff at the Columbia University School of Journalism, where Sahori obtained a master's degree, signed a letter calling for a case to be dropped. Sahori was present at the May 31st protest as a working journalist, not a protester. The letter reads, she was doing work clearly protected by the First Amendment. She identified herself as a journalist, and others confirmed that information to police, and yet she remains charged with criminal misconduct just for doing her job of news gathering. Police say they don't have body cam footage of the arrest, as usual, and claiming that the defendants in the misdemeanor cases don't have the right to video through discovery. Wow. So the county prosecutors and police refused to release the video of the incident. When a judge ruled against that argument and ordered the video be released, a police spokesman told the register that the arresting officer didn't activate his body camera during her arrest, a violation of city policy. During the day following Sahori's arrest, another journalist was taken into custody at a different protest. The Register reported a body camera was not activated that time either. That case against freelance journalist Ted Needles was dismissed. On June 2nd, a third consecutive day, a different Register reporter was filming protests that hadn't ended after the curfew. Reporter Katie Aiken can be heard telling police more than a dozen times that she was a member of the press before one of them sprays her with tear gas. Polk County Attorney John Saccone declined to comment on Sahori's case publicly. We strongly disagree with how this matter has been characterized and would do our talking in the courtroom. Neither Sahori nor our attorney immediately responded to request for comment, and Des Moines Register asked Des Moines Police for an internal review of the incident, and officials agreed to do so. And so these cases are going on all across the country, and no arrest should have been made in the first place. Since charges unfortunately were filed, that mistake should have been corrected by quickly dropping them. So it's crazy out there. It's crazy out there. And here we go at the last, try to throw a little feel-good story in here. An elementary school in Metro Atlanta could soon have something in common with the First Lady, the former First Lady. Its name. Clayton County Board of Education has voted to rename South Clayton Elementary School to Michelle Obama STEM Elementary School. The next county will have to wait for Obama to approve. I just felt like there aren't many places named after women. Board member Ophelia Burrows stated. She originally suggested naming the school after Obama. We are trying to push forward in our society because we have been left behind for so long. The elementary school is under construction and is expected to open next July in the city of Jonesboro. At the board meeting last week, Obama received 7 votes The other two were in favor of renaming the school after civil rights activist John Lewis, who died earlier this year. He is a true hero of the civil rights movement, and it had been so fitting at this time, the board member Judy Johnson, who did not vote in favor of Obama, stated. But we have had many, many votes for Michelle Obama, and it's very fitting to have a school named after her here. Obama's ties to the county. Obama has ties to Clayton County through a great-grandmother, and New York Times connected Obama ancestry to Melvina Shields in 2009. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported in 2018 that Shields was enslaved on a farm in Rex, Georgia, a tiny hamlet of northeast Clayton. Within county lines, a memorial monument for Shields stands in Rex. If Obama says no, then you have John Lewis as a backup or someone else, Burrow said. And Clayton County Elementary School will not be the first to be renamed after Obama in Georgia. There's a Barack and Michelle Obama Elementary School in Atlanta. That's right, folks. Gotta do what you gotta do when you gotta do it. Charlie Chan,
Video news, y'all.
newsman.
It's time for what? KP's Video News, y'all.